Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Abolitionists Live. I'm your host, Blair Pippin, and I have a special guest today. We're honored to have Judge Wilfredo Martinez. He's a judge here in Orange County, Florida, and he's also one of our board members with Florida Abolitionists. And so today we're going to move on in our series. You may recall, if you've seen the last few episodes, we've been talking about the different players that are involved in the issue of human trafficking. For the last couple of weeks, we addressed the buyers and why human trafficking exists from the perspective of demand. There's a demand for cheap products and people that want to pay for sex. And so that is really the driving factor that causes human trafficking. Now we're going to shift over and talk about the victims. And so, Judge, you have seen victims in your court, and so we want to just hear a little bit, why are the courts involved, and why might a victim interact with the court system?
Why the court is involved is that by the very nature, especially for people that are being sexually exploited, that very nature makes them come in contact with the criminal court system. So the overwhelming majority of victims of human trafficking are going to have contact with a criminal court system. For the most part, victims of human trafficking, sexual exploitation, are not going to be allowed to have any money on them. So if they want to buy clothing, if they need toiletries, what have you, they're going to have to steal it. If they are taking drugs, which the majority are, they're going to be involved with drug charges. Sooner or later, they're going to be, stopped, and they're going to find drugs on them. Then they're also going to be involved with the prostitution side of it. So all of this means that, especially in the misdemeanor court level, the county court level, we're going to be seeing lots and lots of victims of human trafficking, and be honest about it, we are not good at identifying them. Now, this is a huge impact on the court system. And why should the public care about the impact on the court system? Because it impacts the rest of the community and the services that we can provide as the third branch of government to the community. So if we're tied up dealing with issues related to human trafficking, if we can identify them and refer them out, then that helps clear out the massive caseload that we have in the court system.
Yeah, earlier you were telling me a little bit about cases that you have actually seen come across into your court where you've helped identify. Would you mind sharing with our audience maybe one of those stories?
Well, one in particular I remember was a young lady who was before me on a criminal license matter, probably no valid driver's license or driving while license suspended. And for the most part, I'll be honest, for the most part, the court system basically just does, fine court costs. But since I am sensitive to these issues, I look behind and see if there's other markers. So I will tend to ask, for example, the assistant state attorney, does this person have a criminal record? And what I'm looking for in that criminal record, if they have one, are there any prior contacts with the court system regarding property theft, drug involvement, and or prostitution? Those are the three main things you're looking for. You find that also with no valid driver's license or driving while license suspended, because they don't have the money to renew their license or to get their license. They're not allowed to have money. And so in this particular case, young lady before me, no valid driver's license or driving while license suspended, I actually put her on probation because I suspected there was something else going on. The state did have a record on her. I believe it was a property theft issue with her. I put her on probation. Within 2 months of being on probation, she violated probation. She was arrested in a situation where she passed out in a men's club, and she had passed out from injecting morphine. And it turns out that she was working at the men's club. So now she's before me back in custody because of the violation of probation with new charges. And this is drugs. So now we start suspecting, okay, she's involved one way or another with the sex trade. She's involved with drugs, obviously. She's involved with, has a history of petty theft, and obviously can't afford to renew her license. And so what we do in the court system, what I do, is I make the attorneys aware, defense counsel, and state attorney. I say, I suspect this person may be a victim of human trafficking. I give them the resources, because I can't have direct contact with this person and talk to them for the most part. And so I give them, for example, the numbers to the National Hotline on Human Trafficking, so that they can give that to the defendant. Give as much opportunity for that person while they are in custody to have counselors go and talk to this person. And lo and behold, in this case, after about 2 months of providing those opportunities for this young lady, she did identify herself as a victim of trafficking. Now what happens is, as the court system, we work as a team defense counsel, state attorney, and myself, we try to figure out what is best for this young lady. How do we get her out of the court system? We recognize that she is not a defendant. She herself is a victim. And so the good thing is that at that point, everyone jumps together, everyone figures out what's the best for her. In this particular case, the defense counsel and the state were able to work together to get her into a program outside of the state. It was not safe for her to stay here in Florida. It was safer for her to get out. So everyone worked together to get her out.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, yeah, so you're seeing it right there.
It's there, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. I would suspect, we have these things called arraignment at the misdemeanor level.
Mm-hmm.
I would suspect that we're probably having about 40 to 50 victims of human trafficking coming through the court system every week. We just don't know it. Now, while I was doing the arraignments, we were keeping track of the ones that we suspected. And that's what we were looking at. We were looking at somewhere between 5 to 10 suspected a day, and if that's 5 days a week. So it can't be that high, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. And
So-
a lot that it sounds like are not being identified.
The overwhelming majority are not. It's going to require a complete mind shift in the way things are done in a court system. And we're just not there yet. There are certain states that are moving in that direction. New York State now has mandatory human trafficking programs. Connecticut is already coming on board as well. So there are states that are moving in that way. Florida is not there yet.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, other judges are not as aware of this as you are. What has made you so passionate about this issue to say, I'm going to do this differently?
I sit on a federal board where we help fund state court system projects in all different types of areas. We try to improve state court systems by funding projects. It became obvious that human trafficking was a major issue across the board in all 50 states and territories. And so this particular federal board I sit on, we started investing heavily in human trafficking programs for court systems. We got so involved with that, you can't unsee what we saw. You cannot unsee it. And so of all the issues that this board deals with, this is the one that hit us the hardest. And actually 3 members of this board have now dedicated ourselves to human trafficking issues afterwards. Even though we've moved on to other issues, we have committed ourselves to human trafficking. These people, the way I see it, a court system that does not help identify and divert the person out is actually aiding in having this person leave the courthouse and be raped, beat, and drugged that day. Be raped, who knows, 10, 15, 20, 30 times that day, be beat that day, be drugged that day. If we're not helping identify them and diverting them, we're part of the problem.
Wow, those are strong words.
Well, it's true. That's how I feel about it, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm working within this system and without the system to
Yes.
try to get change. It's going to be a long-term process, but it can be done.
Right, and we're seeing it be done in other states, so
Yes.
so why would it not be able to happen? And we're just so grateful to you for all your leadership and for really leading the charge
Well,
in that space here in our community.
I just want to thank Florida Abolitionists for who you are and what you've been doing. And you've been doing this for a long time, and you want to do it right. You are doing it right. So you are the experts. You are the ones that really have the right heart, mind, and soul to get this done the right way. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
And once again, with Judge Wilfredo Martinez, and thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to share this post with friends. You can also see any of our past videos on other episodes on our YouTube page. We put all of them up on there. It's an easy place to see all of them together, if you're trying to catch up on what we've shared. But we'll continue to share more in coming weeks about issues that the victims face, and as victims become survivors. As that is really our heart, to see survivors thrive and experience a new life after they have gotten out of human trafficking. And so check it out. We'll be in touch soon. Talk to you later.